extend a very warm welcome to you all, no matter where you are in parts of Australia today, to our webinar entitled Key Elements to a Successful Giving Day. I'm really glad and happy to be joined by Tyler Juel, who's the Head of Fundraising and Marketing at the Reach Foundation, who has successfully run a Giving Day in 2020. It was Reach's 4th Giving Day with Give Easy, and we're really looking forward to some Q&A later in this session with Tyler around some successes during 2020, some challenges that Reach faced, and how that they were overcome, given the current challenging environment that we are in today. As of all our webinars that we run, please feel free to ask some questions. There's a chat box. We'd love Q&A to Tyler and myself, so please just chat throughout this webinar and we'll come to those at the end. Now, on the webinar today, there's a variety of attendees, those that have successfully run a Giving Day before, those that are pros, those that are looking to run a Giving Day. I know that there's a number of you that have actually reached out to us and are looking at running one over the next few weeks and months before the end of 2020. And I know that there's a few of you that are just interested as to what a Giving Day entails. What is a Giving Day? I've heard a lot of buzz out in the market. I need to report back to my board. And so what we're going to do, we're going to break this up into two. We're going to cover some of the key elements, some of the key ways that you can be successful, both from a technology viewpoint and also from a comms and marketing viewpoint. And then, as I said, we're going to get into some Q&A with Tyler. Real life experience about Tyler's Giving Day for Reach in June of this year. So just quickly on digital, 2020, I'd say, one of the positives to come out of 2020 has been the rise of digital, not just for charities, but across the board. If you read stuff from the banks, if you read stuff from a lot of the fintechs companies, they're all firing because the world has moved online. And it's the case with charities. At Give Easy, we've seen a significant rise in online, whether that's because it's the only way for people to transact, or whether it's people have realized how easy it is to transact online. And I suppose at Give Easy, we're all about making it easy to give and easy to set up. And what we want to share with you today is how you can take your digital to the next level with a Giving Day. So I could talk about what a Giving Day is for this whole presentation, but what I want to give you is just a sense of what a typical Giving Day looks like for charities in Australia. It's a set day. Normally they run for 24 hours. Some run for 48. I've seen others run for a week. But it's really about getting the entire organisation on board, not just the fundraising team or maybe the marketing team, but the entire organisation, from the board, your entire staff, your volunteers, your ambassadors, all focused on this 24 hours. Think about a tax campaign that goes for 6 to 8 weeks, combined into 24 hours, and supercharge that ×2, and you have a Giving Day. And it's not just about fundraising. It's a great opportunity, if you structure it right with your goal that you set, that it becomes an amazing marketing opportunity for your organisation. It's a day for your organisation to shine, not just from fundraising, but from a brand perspective, that then hopefully becomes part of your fundraising calendar year on year. So I want to make this interactive. Hopefully we can get a question that comes up, a poll. What I want to ask is, what is the most important thing that you believe you need to have a Giving Day? If there was one thing that you need, what is it? There's a few questions there, please feel free to ask. There's no wrong answers. To be honest, all of these are important. Every single one of these is important. So is it videos? Is it comments? Is it mobile friendly page? Is it match giving? Is it not having too many fields on the donation form? Is it having a countdown timer on your page? I'm just going to give everyone, until that clock gets to the minute mark that you can see, an opportunity to answer. As I said, I'd love all responses. Great to see so many of you responding. And yeah, the one thing that you need is match giving. Without match giving on a giving day, you don't have, in our view, a really strong value proposition for your giving day. Why? Because people give more. People give more when a charity, not-for-profit, can go out and say that every dollar that you donate today will be matched. It just works. It's not rocket science. Match giving has been around for a long time, but match giving on a giving day allows a not-for-profit to really go hard with their brand, and the donor out there feels like their dollar is getting pushed further. There's a lot of tricks and tips, and we might hear from Tyler as to how Tyler and Reach secured some of their matched funding. It's not easy. It's not easy, especially in the environment that we're living in, but it's really important that you are looking to secure some matched funding, whether it's a small amount or whether it's a really big amount, to complement your giving day. In saying that, most giving days, I'd say 95% of all giving days that we've been associated with at Give Easy, the not-for-profit actually runs out of match funding. You'd be surprised how much is given to an organisation on their giving day. What's in it for the corporate or the high net worth individual or the philanthropist? Potentially their brand is on your donation page. Their brand is associated with a great cause. They were normally going to give $10,000 to Reach anyway. This way, their brand can be in the limelight. They can show, from a CSR point of view, their employees, their stakeholders, that they're associated with a brand. What I'm going to cover quickly is two key elements, and they're real big, important, themes. And I'm going to touch on these lightly. And after this, if there's any questions or comments, happy to take them via chat or an offline. So really, to us, there's two key success elements that need to happen. There's a tech element, and there's a strategy and a communications element to run a giving day. And both are just as important. You can't run a giving day without a great tech platform, and you can have the best tech platform in the world, but if you haven't thought out what is your goal, what channels, where do your donors live, how are you going to mobilize your troops, all of your stakeholders, you won't get the success from your giving day. So let's look at the tech. And this is, I suppose, where Give Easy really excels, and where we really refined our platform over the years to provide a real seamless experience with some key elements. Obviously, one of those key elements I went through is the match giving on the page, but let's look at some others. This is Reach's donation page on our platform. So they've got some real key elements here. They've got a countdown timer, which some of you rightly said was a really important element on their page. That countdown timer really gives momentum, shows that there's 24 hours or potentially 1 hour to go until we reach our target. There's a goal. Setting a goal is so important with a giving day. Getting it right based on past giving days, or potentially, if you haven't run one, really strategically thinking about what is the propensity of your donors to give is really important. And having that live thermometer bar on the page. What does the live thermometer bar do? It really shows your donors when they land on that page that there's still some more to go until you hit your target. It also allows you, the charity, to go out on social media, to go out on your emails, to go out on your SMSs, to tell your stakeholders that you're still short, that there's this goal, there's this attainable goal out there, and that if we all work together, we'll hit it. But it's this running goal that moves up in real time, not delayed, that keeps your donors on target. The giving days we've been associated with, we've seen so many comments on social media that says from donors that have said, I've just given again because I want to see that goal being reached, or I can't stop refreshing the donation page. What are some other key elements? I've gone through the multiplier. Having a multiplier on the page where when the donor types in 100, it automatically goes up by 2 or by 3 or by 4, and they see that in real time. It's just such a nice feature to gamify the gift giving experience, and allowing donors to comment, to add support. Again, it makes them feel part of a team, especially in the environment that we're in today. What we saw at tax time with a whole bunch of our charities was that supporters loved to write comments of support. Tailor the message. Ask them to add a message of support for our aeromedical teams or whatever is relevant for your organisation. Put those comments on social. We've seen such beautiful comments from 7-year-old kids or grandmothers that have always wanted to give support. And these are there forever for your branding and your marketing team. And it just helps to add to that support. In a time like this where people are feeling isolated, it's a great way to bring them into your community. And what's really important is that you can update these pages in real time. So if you've hit your goal and there's a bonus round coming, or if you want to write some more messages on the page, or if you have to update your corporate partners because of bingo, and new corporate partners come on as a matching partner, or you want to thank your supporters when you've reached your goal, or you want to put up a new video on there, you need to be able to do it instantaneously. Because remember, most of these giving days are 24 hours. Things happen really, really quickly, and you want to be able to go into a back end, update the goal, turn the thermometer bar off, update the multiplier, update the content in real time. You want to have a beautiful thank you page that isn't just your generic thank you page around your general donations, specifically talking to the matched giving day, that specifically references that your donation will be doubled. Because remember, that donor out there is potentially given not just to the general pool of funds for reach, but specifically to that giving day. So continuing that personalized journey from when they open that email, when they get that pre-filled SMS, when they click on the link in social, all the way through to their thank you page and to their tax receipt is really important. I've given you a 5-minute snapshot in terms of what I believe and what we believe at GiveEasy are some of the key technology tools that you need that really set a giving day apart from your spring appeal or potentially your tax appeal or your general donations page. There's obviously a lot more that you need to think about. Videos, text, tracking, etc., that also comes along with that. But I'm hoping that that gives you an adequate snapshot of the key tools, the key technology tools that set a giving day apart from another digital campaign. What I wanted to do now is complement that with what you need to do with your strategy and comms. And again, I'm just going to give you a snapshot, but it's really, really important to think about your channels. Email, SMS, social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Are you going to make some telephone calls on the day? How are you going to actually put this into action? What does your calendar look like? Remember, this is a 24-hour giving day. How are you going to build up momentum before the day to make everyone realize that tomorrow is our special day? And on the day itself, remember, you've only got one shot at this. How many emails? How many SMSs? What are you going to put on social? How are you going to get a call center or your volunteers motivated in this environment to make sure that your giving day is the biggest success? It requires some thought, it requires some leadership, and it requires some communication between the fundraising and marketing teams. The giving days I've been associated with, some of the feedback that I get is it was fantastic because for the first time ever, the marketing and fundraising team were completely aligned on a day. Or for the first time ever, we got traction from fundraising from our board. Our board made some calls. Our board posted it on social. These are things that we can help you with, but things that you need to think through when you're looking at a giving day. I'm just going to show you some real quick examples from Reach, from their giving day. Again, Tyler will talk about it, but multiple emails were sent at specific points. Emails were sent advertising the giving day a week before, 72 hours before, on the day, with an hour to go. Again, really emphasizing how important that giving day and how important we need to raise the funds. SMSs were sent. We've got some pretty clear guidelines and some pretty clear thoughts as to when SMSs should be sent for best results for a giving day. SMS is a fantastic medium to cut through to people for a giving day. You've got 24 hours, donations are doubled, and remember, 95% of all SMSs are read. What are you going to do on social media? Again, it's so important. And one thing I loved about the Reach campaign is that there was such consistent messaging across all channels. Reach has a fairly young brand and demographic who they help, and the imagery was there across all of the social media channels, even if Instagram isn't their most popular channel to get donations through. And this is what they did on Facebook. They updated their Facebook page. They had a pin post, exactly what's needed. I'm going to quickly show you a video that Reach did. Again, Tyler will talk to you about this, but this video was done internal within Reach. They didn't need a massive brand agency to make this video. I'm going to play it now.
Coronavirus has changed life as we know it.
If you're gathering together in a group, that's not okay.
But staying home for domestic violence victims can mean being trapped with an abuser.
Linking 5G technology to COVID-19.
Many schools also taking matters into their own hands and shutting down. Major mental health crisis.
Stay at home.
Right. So I'm just going to stop the sharing now. So with not further ado, so again, a campaign that Reach did, and we're going to now hear from Tyler. So I just want to welcome Tyler Juel, who's the head of fundraising and marketing at the Reach Foundation. At Give Easy, we've had the privilege of working with the Reach team over the last 4 years around their giving days and some other initiatives around digital fundraising. And what I want to do is take the next little while to ask Tyler some questions to hopefully give you some insights into what was going through Reach's mind with their giving day. And then please, I'd love to open it up to some questions from you guys. So as I'm speaking with Tyler over the next 10 or 15 minutes, please write some questions into the chat box. And Tyler will get to them after we're done. So welcome, Tyler. Thanks so much for joining us today. Cliche question, but let's start with it. You know, 2020, Reach I saw you've now got a new CEO that's come on board at the beginning of this week. How have you embraced change as an organisation during 2020?
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy, for having me. And I hope you guys can't hear. Somebody just started weed whacking outside. Can you actually hear the buzz? Okay, good. It's really loud on my end. Yeah, really. So for those of you guys who haven't heard of REACH, we're a youth organization that believes that young people are extraordinary, but life's challenges are incredibly complex, and young people are experiencing reality and challenges that previous generations have never had to experience before. And the work that we do is delivering workshops in schools and local communities around the country to help build their confidence, empathy, and resilience. And I think, like the rest of the world, that resilience has been put to the test this year. And for REACH, the impact of COVID-19 has been devastating. So we had projected a loss of about 30% of all of our income across fundraising, government income, our social enterprise income, and program revenue. And as part of that, the entire staff at REACH took a voluntary reduction of pay and hours by 30%. And from a programs perspective, all of our programs pre-COVID were delivered face-to-face. And so that came to a screeching halt. So I guess in true REACH form, we weren't ones to just kind of sit on our hands and say, woe is me. We developed, and it took some time, but we developed a really robust digital well-being framework, which took about 8 weeks. And if you would have asked anybody at REACH a year ago if we would ever deliver a virtual program, we would say never, never. Face-to-face group facilitation has by far the most impact. That's just not what we do. But COVID actually presented us with a very unique opportunity to build new programs in a virtual space that will complement our face-to-face whilst we're all in lockdown or in isolation. And that has actually been, I guess not to our surprise, but to a pleasant surprise, so to speak, quite successful. So we delivered our very first virtual program in May, pilot. And actually that helped us tell some of the stories in the lead up to the Reshape Tomorrow campaign about what we were doing in lockdown, to help build up kind of the case studies and impact statistics that would then result in an ask for them to support us whilst, the majority of our program delivery was not happening in schools, but we were still doing everything we could to support young people during a time that we knew their mental health was severely impacted. And yeah, you also mentioned, Jeremy, we've been in this kind of interim phase with our acting CEO for the last 18 months, who's done an exceptional job. But recruiting for a new CEO during COVID-19 has also proven to be quite a challenge, but he just started this week. So it's actually more change to come for us, but I feel like we've embraced it pretty well.
Thanks, Tyler. This is your 4th Giving Day that REACH has done. There were a lot of things that had to change, given the circumstances, given the uncertainty. Half of your team, or most of your team, are actually in Melbourne. You're fortunate, at least for the time being, to be in Sydney. Can you just run through some really high level of what you did differently this year from a top level versus, say, last year or the year before?
Yeah. So last year, our Giving Day was in October. So, and it had been run in that October-November timeframe for the last 3 years. And our community, I think, had come to expect that that's the time that REACH is going to do, a big matching appeal. When COVID happened and we had to cancel all of our fundraising events, and that lost program income and revenue, we, as an organization, took a second look at that budget just to see what activities could we actually do safely. And so to my marketing teams, well, actually, they were really good. We were in a bit of a shock, but we thought, all right, what if we brought it forward to tax time? And mind you, we made this decision in April, so that really gave us less than 8 weeks to pull the campaign together, which last year we had given ourselves at least double that amount of time. I do not recommend trying to pull together your matching or your giving day in 8 weeks, but I think because of we've kind of been to the rodeo 3 times before, we knew what to expect, but it was just in an expedited time frame. But the things that we had to do very differently this year was, so our brand is very much an uplifting brand, never putting young people in a kind of deficit lens. Young people are amazing, they're extraordinary. And you would see that coming out in our look and feel and our comms. And when we were talking about this appeal and bringing it forward, we realized that we would need to stretch the brand a bit to make it one, I think, more appropriate and relevant to what was happening in the world, but also being more vulnerable and sharing the impact that COVID has had on the organization. So we took a much different approach to the imagery and to the language that we've ever used before. And that went through. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So just on that, so how did you progress that with your board? I mean, I remember having a conversation with you. I think it was April, and we canvassed the number of different ideas around what does I remember you ringing me up, Jeremy. We're thinking about moving our giving day to June. Is this the right move? And we canvassed a number of different scenarios around the different messaging. Given that your brand had been so strong with such unique messaging over the previous years, how did you get your board and stakeholders aligned, given that this is pretty much a really important fundraising opportunity or a need for your organization?
Yeah, it was a process, and we had a number of different stakeholder groups that we wanted to kind of use as like to get feedback and to involve in the process. From my perspective, knowing that the brand had really had a history of really having a strengths-based approach to their comms and look and feel, that whilst this was not detracting from that, would be confronting. So what I put in front of the board and one of our fundraising and marketing subcommittees was 3 options. And the first option was business as usual. Young people are amazing, invest in their future. And then a second option, which was, let's be a little bit more open and honest about the impact of where young people are at right now, and that they need our support now more than ever. And then a third option, which was nuclear, or my version of nuclear, which is Save the Reach Foundation. We are experiencing, I think, deficit unlike anything we've ever faced before, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I knew they would never go for the nuclear option, but I put it in front of them so I could get the second option, the one that we wanted, which was still quite a big stretch from what we've done in the past. And that they actually were quite open to that. And we were able to proceed. And I had put in those 3 options as well, the different type of activations, the different kind of comms and messaging bullet points for each, so they kind of get a little flavor of it before we were to build out the entire campaign, as well as a projection of expected revenue that we could raise from each option. Now, going nuclear, I think, we could have raised more money, but, we could never go there again. And I think, as we start to realize that the impact of COVID is not just going to be for 2020 as an organization, we're actually more concerned about 2021, that we wanted to save potentially that more severe option at a future date if things don't improve.
Yeah, sure. So what I'm hearing from you is you convinced your board to change tax. You did some things differently from a brand and marketing point of view as well. Can we talk about channels and communication channels? So can you just maybe take us all through which channels you used and did your comm strategy change much from, with that different messaging, obviously, versus previous years, from this year to previous years?
Yeah, and look, I put my team through it, and thankfully, I should make mention. So the structure of the marketing team at Reach is I have two awesome young men, one that manages comms and digital, and the other that does design, and they're both part-time. And there's a vacant manager role that hasn't been filled throughout this entire process. So we as a small team were really put to the test, and the comms and the channels that we wanted to kind of increase from this year to last year really put everybody, I think, sanity to the test. Let me just say last year, so we did, EDMs, social media ads. We produced a video for the campaign. We also did a really big telethon last year that we weren't able to do this year, but I'll talk about that in a moment. We also had some pro bono support from outdoor media partners to do digital billboards. And we also ask every year for our corporate partners to share the campaign on their social media channels, which have got really incredible consumer kind of like Facebook and Instagram audiences. So those are the channels that we try to use year to year. This year, without being able to do the telethon, which raised significant amount of money for us, we realized, okay, we're going to need to figure out some other way to bring in those dollars, because the telethon, which I'll just share with you, last year we would strategically ask corporate volunteers to come in and to call, and we'd have our list of donors, but we also asked them to call their own networks as well if they were comfortable, and we gave them a full briefing and a script, and then we also asked strategically volunteers from companies that we knew would be comfortable doing that. So like we got an insurance sales team to come in and we said, hey, would you call your own network? They probably brought in a couple hundred new donors. They didn't even contact the database. They just went through their phones. And that was really effective. And that did raise a lot of money last year. So we thought, oh crap, how are we going to do that this year? So we actually did a bit more segmentation of our EDMs. And we sent out a lot more EDMs this year than we normally would have. And being really smart to remove the donors who would donate between the period of time that we send the first EDM and we get a wave of donations. We would remove all of those donors from the mailing list so they wouldn't receive further comms from us. I was just trying to think what was... Oh, and in lieu of doing a telethon face-to-face, what we did is we did a call out to every single one of our volunteers, our kind of volunteer committees and our board and our staff with a brief about 2 weeks in advance saying, look, this year, and kind of explaining that every year the telethon is a big part of the campaign. Without doing that, we asked each one of those individuals to call or to contact 5 people in their own networks to make a donation. We wrote some sample copy for their social media pages, for their emails that they could customize and tailor. And that actually generated a significant amount of revenue, absent of having the telethon.
Yeah. I mean, I think I got, just to give everyone a sense of how many EDMs Reach sent out, I think I got 5. So I think I got maybe 2 or 3 before the giving day, 1 when the giving day launched, 1 when you hit your, if it's the 50% of your target, and 1 with 1 hour to go. I think I got 2 SMSs, 1 on launch and 1 with an hour to go. I think that 1 hour window to go is a great window. And then obviously you were all over social. I think you may have done a Facebook Live as well. So the digital channels were really hit, and it comes back to our belief as well that, you know, probably 5 is the minimum of emails that you're sending out. To be honest, I think in previous years you probably sent out a few less just because you've had the phone channels. But thanks for going through that.
Oh, can I just mention as well, one thing that we did differently this year, which we kind of were planning to do, but we just thought, let's give it a go, is that we did a hard, like, concentrated effort around the giving day. All the comms were around the giving day, but we did the giving day on the 10th and 11th of June from 12 o'clock to 12 o'clock. And we knew if we didn't hit the target in that 24-hour period, that we had already developed some comms and imagery to immediately pivot the campaign to a more traditional tax appeal. And we spoke to their matching donors to say, look, we're going to do this giving day appeal, but if we don't hit the target, can we continue to use your matching funds through the end of June? And we got about 75% of the way there in the 24-hour period, which was great considering what was, it was a pretty ambitious target. And then between the 12th of June and the 30th of June, we actually surpassed the goal. And that kind of change of messaging, I knew, I had a feeling that I was like, I think we're gonna get close, but let's just get everything ready so that the next day we could start doing additional comms and EDMs. And that worked, and it was quite effective.
Yeah, fantastic. So let's just talk about how you utilize sort of the Give Easy tech platform. I mean, lucky you've got some in-house designers. I've loved your imagery. I loved your imagery last year. I loved your imagery this year. Before I knew it, you sort of had a page up that was a beautiful page that had an amazing video. I went through some key elements to what I thought a giving day looked like, or success elements from a tech perspective. Can you just talk to everyone in terms of how important is the tech platform, how you utilize the Give Easy platform for maximum success, and what you've sort of learned along the journey over the number of years from a tech perspective?
Yeah, look, the great thing about the platform, at least from my perspective, like all of those key elements, like the goal, the thermometer, the multiplier effect, the countdown, like all those are great and they're necessary and they're quite effective. From my perspective, what was really great was that it was just so easy to make changes and update in the background. I had like my comms guy, he did a lot of it, but I remember there was one time where I needed to do something and I was like, oh shit, what am I gonna do? And it was actually really simple. And having the ability, because we made a number of changes throughout the day. And then before we'd send an EDM, we'd actually look to see if we wanted to make any changes or change the imagery, or we also added a thank you video as well. All of that was so seamless. And yeah, you guys have made it so much easier for someone like me who's not very tech savvy to just done.
Yeah. Great. I probably got one more question, guys, and then so now's a really good time if you guys have some questions to start typing. I have seen there's a couple that have come through. My last question, Tyler, to you is around match giving and the matching partners, and it's probably something that where for a not-for-profit that's never done this before, it's probably the most scariest thing, or it's the questions that I get. You know, we want to run a giving day. We've got a decent support. We've got our brand. We know what we need, but where do we source our match partners from? Where do we source our match giving partners from? Where do we start? And I know there's no silver bullet for this. And in each organization is different. Each organization has existing relationships, no relationships, lukewarm relationships. Can you talk about how you would approach those that participated last year in the Giving Day to be in there this year, and probably more importantly for those that haven't done one of these before, where do you start to source leads, lukewarm participants?
Yeah, great question. So every year we, with plenty of lead time, you kind of build a pipeline of potential new partners who we think would be a good fit, that we would build a proposal for and try and cultivate the relationships to get the gift. Anyway, and that's fine and that's important. What we had to do this year, because we had a very short time frame, is we just went, and we do this every year as well. We go to our existing portfolio of corporate supporters and major individual givers. And we did have a benefit because we've done this before. So we had developed a bit of a campaign report to show the return on investment, kind of how and where, and the channels and imagery to really bring the campaign to life so they could see it. But absent of that, I think there is really strong evidence, and I can't remember the citation at the moment, but in match campaigns, actually, I think it increases donations by, I want to say 18 to 25% or something, knowing that a donor, if they make a gift, it's going to be doubled or tripled or quadrupled. And so we would go to our existing partners to say, look, we're doing this campaign, and we would love to get you involved. Now, ideally, we would pitch, and we did secure successfully this year new funds from those partners. But if you can't get that, I would go to your existing partners or donors to ask if you can actually utilize their gifts that they're probably going to make this year and have it being allocated towards the campaign so that it can help encourage others to donate and to give more. So it would essentially take like a $50,000 donation. What we were saying is, look, we can turn your 50K into 100K. If you support the campaign. And we had some really great kind of acknowledgement and recognition for those. And just having really honest conversations. And in this year of COVID, we didn't do a COVID emergency appeal. And that was intentional, knowing that we were probably going to do something really big, our signature appeal. So we went to them and said, look, this is our big appeal of the year. What can we do to get you guys to support it and get behind it? And even if they didn't give cash, so we were able to secure $100,000 of new money for the campaign. But we asked, about 50 others. And many of those who couldn't actually come on as a matching partner, what they did instead is they shared it online or they shared it to their staff. And we did actually generate a number of donations from companies who would then, like Kmart's a great example. They gave money, and they also utilize their own database to reach out to their thousands of staff members to give as well.
Yeah, I mean that's really interesting. So really, it's hitting up corporates, and if they don't come on board, which some of them won't, what else can you actually ask them for where it's non-financial support? I know in the past you've had some decent support from the Melbourne Football Club. I think previous years I remember Deloitte sending an all-staff email. I mean, amazing. I remember last year, 8:30 in the morning, we were arming and erring as to whether you were going to hit your target, and boom, 25K came in from a whole Deloitte employee. So it's working out strategically. What I'm hearing from you, Tyler, is who are your match funding partners, and then sort of like a peer-to-peer campaign in a way, who else can spread the word outside of your emails and your SMSs and your social channels to supercharge this campaign. That's probably it for my questions. Before we get to, and there are a number of questions, I just wanted to congratulate you and the Reach team for reaching your goal of 200K in a really tricky environment. So congratulations for that. Again, now's your time to ask questions. There's a Q&A box and there's also a chat box. So I'm going to fire these, I think, Tyler, at you. I might add where it's appropriate. There's quite a few to get through, so we probably just need to keep our answers relatively short, just mindful of the time. So Carly Ryan asks, and this one I'll leave for you, Tyler. Do you release the match giving at the start of the day or release it midway through?
Yeah, great question, Carly. So in the past, we've actually released it in stages. So, but this year, what we decided is, look, let's make it really straightforward, really simple. Let's just be really upfront and honest about what the actual target is. So we were quite bold in just saying, look, the target's 200,000, and we've got matching support to get us there. And we did that from the outset. Whereas in the past, what we've done is we've actually created multiple benchmarks where we would say, all right, we'd hit a target and we'd say, all right, now due to some additional funding, we can continue to match. But we didn't deploy that this year.
Yeah. Nick Holland asks, so how did you launch the Giving Day? I assume that means from a comms point of view.
Yep. So we launched the Giving Day a week ahead. So the week before the Giving Day, we did a pre-launch to our entire database saying in 1 week's time, we are doing our Giving Day, but if you donate now, all of your funds will be matched. We did, I think, 2 EDMs in that pre-launch. And then when we launched it on the day, we sent another EDM to the entire database. We launched some ads on Facebook and Instagram. We also deployed some content. We produced that video that was shown earlier. That was also put onto Facebook, as well as it was on the landing page of the GiveEasy donation page. And then we also went out to we had already briefed in all of those kind of individual staff, board, crew, volunteers to get on the phones or to ask their friends for support during that 24-hour period. And then we did a couple EDMs during that 24-hour period to give people an update of where we're at. And then we did an SMS on that day as well. I think we did two SMSs over that 24-hour period.
Yeah.
I think that's
thanks. There's a question that I might answer this just because do you find that the day is important, for example, a weekend versus a weekday? Yeah, I mean, I probably would steer clear of weekends if possible, just because can you mobilize, Tyler was talking about Kmart or Deloitte or a lot of external parties on a weekend. Can you get potentially volunteers, as many as you'd like on a weekend? As well, like in this environment, everyone's still sort of, relatively contactable, available online during a weekday. The sweet spot that I find works best, and I think it's actually where Reach ran their campaign, was the Thursday, Friday period. Yeah, like we've done quite a few Giving Days and launching it. I think, Tyler, you launched yours at 12 and ran it till 11. I advise not-for-profits to have that last hour during a time where you can SMS and email people and it's not 10 o'clock at night or it's not 7 a.m. in the morning, because you get a whole chunk of your money in that last hour. Last chance. It's sort of like that tax SMS or email, but you've got double donations and you've got 1 hour to go of your Giving Day. So I'd be staying clear of a weekend. But in saying that, like if it's a specific telethon or, we're in discussions with a Wombat charity and it's World Wombat Day on a specific day, you have to go for it. Asylum Seeker Resource Centre, who we're heavily involved with, raised $1.1 million on World Refugee Day, and it was a Saturday this year. They have to do it on the Saturday, right? It's World Refugee Day. They can't send an SMS on the Friday going, tomorrow is World Refugee Day. If you'd like to chip in today, do it. People will be like, what's the point of that? just some more questions. Sorry, I'm just balancing the chat versus the.
Can I just mention as well? So the Giving Day, I was on the 11th and 12th, but when we decide to send out the following EDM to the database saying donate before the end of financial years, we sent that out on the 15th. And so someone on my team had said, hey, that's payday. Let's send it out when people typically get paid. And that was, I think, actually quite a smart idea. And we did get, well, yeah, I can't attribute it directly to that, but we did get a surge of donations in that follow-up EDM as well. Just something to think about, because I know we wanted to give ourselves more time if we did not hit it on the Giving Day itself, the target on the Giving Day itself. But I was like, oh yeah, doing it on when we know people are getting paid, that's a smart idea to think about as well.
Got a question about how to set a target. Never run a Giving Day before. How do you even set a target? Or how do you think about setting a target?
Look, our target this year was really dictated by, I told the fundraising team, I was like, let's get as much matching funds as we possibly can, and we'll figure it out. Because in previous years, it wasn't a double matching campaign, it's a quadruple matching campaign. But we knew that we wouldn't be able to do that this year. But we wanted to ensure that we could match essentially every dollar as much as possible. So for us, the magic number just happened to be 100K. So we doubled that.
Yeah, I agree with Tyler. Go for as much match funding as possible and work out the rest after you've got the match funding. You can always, and there's a question around 2 times, 3 times, or 4 times multiplier. That only comes into play when you've got the match funding. A match 2 times is awesome to get off the ground. Sure, 4 times is absolutely amazing, but get as much funding, push as hard as you possibly can right up until the last moment. I think last year, Tyler, we were still mucking around with what the goal should be like the day before, because you were still pushing hard for the match funding.
Every last
and you can have different rounds, right? So you can start with a 4 times multiplier and move it back to 2 times, but you can only have those discussions once you've got match funding. Another question around, so what support does Give Easy help charities with? So our core support is the tech platform, but there's a whole strategic side that mainly charities that have never done a Giving Day need. So around setting the goal, setting a calendar, reviewing comms. So it's either or both, obviously the tech plus some strategic on the ground support as needed. Sorry, there's a few others.
I'll say that on that as well. Like we've been really appreciative of the support that Give Easy has provided to us over the years. I think, I don't know if I should say this, but last year is great. Jeremy was in our office on the day. You know, we've got a really great history with Give Easy. But when we had, I think there wasn't tech issues, but when we needed some support in the back end, it was instant. And I think that's just so critical when you're doing a 24-hour period, that you've got basically 24-hour access to make changes during the campaign.
Yeah. Good question here from Claire. Would you be tempted to run a Giving Day more than once a year?
Yeah, interesting. We were just talking about that because we had planned initially in March, when all this happened, that we would perhaps do some events at the end of the year, and it's looking like that's probably not going to happen. We're mulling over the idea of doing some type of Christmas appeal. I don't know if that will be a Giving Day, but it could, just because Reach doesn't have, the brand doesn't have like a day where, like, you know, it's the Reach Day. So in order to create that sense of urgency to give, the Giving Day for us was really the kind of the way to go. So we might investigate it again. My team, hopefully none of them are on the call, because they would probably kill me if we said we're going to do a second one this year. But at least we've got the much more time to plan.
Yeah, sure. A good question. I might answer this from Natalie. If you only have a small amount of funds from the matching partner, i.e. $5,000, is it worth promoting as match giving or just do a giving day? I think it's a good question. I mean, I think what we're hearing from Tyler and what I've seen out there is a giving day takes a lot of time and resources, and it's a team effort. And ideally it's top down within the organization. So you need to make the call as to me, $5,000 seems like part of a Christmas appeal where it's breaking news. We've managed to secure $5,000 worth of match funds that you throw into an email rather than a match giving day. My concern with $5,000 as a target is, and you'd be surprised, someone will come along with a $5,000 amount and you've hit your target within the first hour, and then what happens with the rest of the day? So I personally think the minimum is 25K, absolute minimum, but really to do this properly and dedicate the resources like Reach did, you know, albeit internally, you're nudging the 35 to 40K to really make it worthwhile. In saying that, you have to start somewhere, right? So whether you're dipping your toe in the water with a match giving campaign now. I mean, at the moment, we're doing a campaign with for Leukemia Foundation for their spring appeal. It's a match giving campaign without a giving day, right? So you can still do match giving, learn your lessons from the $5,000 campaign, and then next year grow that database. Deborah asking a good question. What would you suggest is the minimum lead time required?
In order, if you to look for matched donations, like as soon as possible. As soon as you know that you're going to do it, start asking for support, even if you don't have a defined date. Because it took us a little while to get the dates, but I got my fundraising team. I was like, look, we know it's happening in June. Just start testing the waters with your supporters to see if they'd get behind it. And then from just like a comms and brand and putting together all your assets ideally, right? So I think had close to 16 weeks last year, and that was a really nice, smooth experience for us. If you can give yourself that amount of time, but I'd say at minimum, 12 weeks.
Yeah. Cool.
Don't do what we did.
Yeah, and if you can just give everyone a feel as to what takes up that time, or apart from the match funding, which I think is from the minute you want to do a giving day, you're going full out until the actual giving day finishes. To be honest, you'd be surprised how many people actually, or how many not-for-profits are able to source an additional matched gift on the day itself. Can you just give us, in a 1 minute, conscious of time, a feel as to what are you doing over that period?
Yeah, look, we didn't have any external agency support, to develop, the concepts, the theme. We did all of that in-house, and that did take some time internally to engage the appropriate stakeholders and decision makers for creative, especially if you're going to lead with some more urgent funding requirements or requests from your donors. That took some time. Actually, I wanted to bang my head against the wall, but we needed to go through that process. And then actually the project plan, when you just develop you map it out, there's so many different comms pieces that need to be written. There's so many design elements that need to be designed. And with my part-time guys, I don't know how they did it. Yes, I know how they did it. They worked a fair bit of overtime. But in order for us to get there, it's just like you have to tick so many different elements, because we knew we were going to go really hard on the comms and putting the campaign in so many different places. So there's just a million moving parts that you need to consider.
Awesome. I think we're about out of time. Just a couple of quick points before we finish. I'd just like to thank Tyler Juel from Reach for his time today and sharing his knowledge on the Reach Giving Day. Secondly, at Give Easy, we're here to help, both from the tech viewpoint, and as you can see from the strategic and marketing viewpoint, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. And we've been associated with a number of giving days. So we'd love to help you. And thirdly, I just wanted to wish everyone to stay safe and well during these times. It's challenging times for us all, but yeah, please stay safe and well. Digital is the place to be, and I look forward to helping you with your giving days and your digital requirements from a fundraising perspective over the next little while. Again, thanks to you all for joining today. Thanks to my team, thanks to Elise, and again, big thanks to Tyler, and keep well and safe, everyone. And thanks again.
Thanks. Bye-bye.